Edwards of Focus Communications, and today we're getting an introduction to New Pacific Metals, which trades on the TSX exchange under the symbol NUAG and the NYSE under the symbol NEWP. Joining me is President of New Pacific, Andrew Williams. Andrew, we appreciate you coming on the show today.
Hey, thanks, Megan. It's a pleasure to be here.
So, Andrew, for those who are new to the New Pacific story, could you give us a brief introduction to the company and your portfolio of projects in Bolivia?
Absolutely. So New Pacific Metals, we are a precious metals exploration and development company operating exclusively in Bolivia. We've got 3 projects. Our flagship is our Silver Sand project, which we discovered in 2018. And we've released now 2 resource estimates and a PEA study at our Silver Sand project. It's a 200 million ounce silver high grade open pitable project. The PEA study highlighted an after-tax net present value of $726 million, 39% IRR. I mean, it's a fantastic project, and we're progressing that this year towards a pre-feasibility study. And in the background, we've been drilling for the last 2 years at our second project called Carangas, and we are on the verge of releasing our first ever resource estimate at Carangas. And we're really excited to showcase the size and the scale of this significant discovery. And then once our resource estimate is out, we're going to be gearing towards completing a PEA study by the first quarter of next year. And then last but not least, we have a third project also in Bolivia called Silver Strike. We scout drilled it last year, hit big, long 200-meter runs of oxidized gold at a gram per ton. It was drilled by Rio Tinto back in the 90s. Very large land package, highly prospective, that we look forward to getting back in and drilling when we're better suited to do so as a company. And we also do have an active project generation team on the ground in Bolivia that doesn't get a lot of attention, but it's still a very important part of our business, because if you rewind just a few years ago, we were a 1 asset company. Now we've got 3, and hopefully we'll have more in the future.
So before we take a deeper dive into your Carangas project, let's discuss the jurisdiction as a whole. So Bolivia is starting to gain market attention with New Pacific's ongoing success, along with Oruro's Isca discovery and the Minero San Cristobal acquisition by San Cristobal Mining from earlier this year. As someone who's fairly new to the management position at New Pacific, what intrigued you about the broader Bolivian opportunity?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, it's often said in this industry that geology can trump geography. I think the geology in Bolivia is incredible. It's if you look at the largest silver deposit that's ever been found, the Cerro Rico silver deposit is just 35 kilometers from where our Silver Sand discovery is. It was the deposit that financed the mighty Spanish Empire for 3-4 centuries. It's been operating for the last 500 years. There's also significant silver tin belt in Bolivia. There was some of the wealthiest individuals in the world, if you go back 80, 100 years, were mining Bolivian tin, huge, rich deposits. And so the geology in the country is incredible, as evidenced by the fact that we've made 2 significant discoveries, Silver Sand, Carangas, in a short amount of time. I think the other part that's important to understand is that Bolivia has a deep mining heritage. Operating from 1545, Cerro Rico really embedded into the DNA of the country the importance of mining. And so there's certainly a large and capable workforce that can mobilize and bring any new discovery into production. And then lastly, it's been underexplored. The last 20 years, very little modern exploration has occurred in Bolivia. And so it was a combination of these 3 factors that brought us into the country and have contributed to our remarkable success in such a short amount of time.
So a large standout for the company is how quickly you've moved your Carangas project. In 2021, you began drilling the project, and approximately 2 years later, the company is expecting your maiden resource estimate on the project. Can you walk us through the last 2 years and how you've been able to rapidly accelerate the development of the project?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the first point to highlight is a lot of hard work. There's been an incredible team operating to make this all a reality over the last couple of years, and we're all really excited about releasing our inaugural resource estimate of the project. But like any exploration campaign, it started out small. a modest scout drilling program in July of 2021. And since then, we've drilled 80,000 meters of core, 189 holes. We've been drilling with 5 rigs, and we shut that off at the end of April this year in order to consolidate those results for a resource estimate. But it goes back to having the people in the country, going back to Bolivia, being a mining, having that mining culture, that mining heritage, great people. That's ultimately what's driven our success and our efficiency, our ability to drill such high volumes and have such a high hit rate. We look at the other factor that's really allowed us to continue to move so quickly is the success we've been having. If you look at maybe a less successful exploration project, you're drilling in a certain area, you're not hitting, you're moving around, you're trying a different area, you're not hitting, you're moving around, the drills are moving, you're thinking. In our case, we've been drilling, and every single hole that we've drilled at Carangas in the shallow silver zone, we've hit silver, and we've continuously hit gold at depth. I think really a testament to the strength and the continuity of this system. We've really been able to ramp it up with confidence. That's I think probably been a key factor helping to contribute to the rapid success we've had bringing this from an exploration concept into what it is today in such a short amount of time.
And something that's gained a lot of market attention is the long interval of mineralization that's been intersected at Carangas. Can you elaborate on the drilling that's been completed thus far and touch on some of the results and highlights from your campaigns?
Yeah, so the Carangas project was actually drilled by Battle Mountain Gold, a company that was ultimately acquired by Newmont in the 90s. And they drilled some outcropping silver mineralization and hit some interesting results, 100-meter runs, roughly 100 grams silver, but thought that they had drilled the best part of the system. And so we came in, we're the next company to drill this project since Battle Mountain, and we confirmed that shallow silver mineralization that was outcropping in the Central Valley of the Carangas project. And then it wasn't until later on in our exploration campaign that in the Central Valley, there's a West Dome Mountain, an East Dome Mountain, and then a valley in between. And that valley is covered by post-mineral sediments, so it's blind. And we drilled underneath that cover, and that's when we made the initial silver mineralization discovery at Carangas. And then it wasn't until hole 31 of our campaign that we drilled deeper. Instead of drilling shallow holes, we drilled a 66-degree dip angle hole and intersected this broad gold mineralization at depth. And on our deck here, if I move over to the cross section, picture's worth 1,000 words. You can see this hole 96 was a fantastic hole for us. Hole 44, which is the hole on the left, was where we really nailed the broad gold zone, 515 meters, 1.1 grams per ton gold. And then we stepped out to the northeast, hole 96. And not only did we hit fantastic shallow mineralization at Carangas, 164 meters, 94 grams silver in that top 200-meter horizon, but again, we hit that gold mineralization where the northeast interpreted dip was expected, and we hit 524 meters, 1.24 grams per ton gold, even a nice high-grade subinterval, 51 meters, 4.5 grams per ton gold. And I think it was 2 months ago now, where we also stepped out to the southwest, so off the section that's on the screen, hole 171. We stepped out and hit 200 meters of this shallow silver mineralization, 123 grams per ton silver. So it's just been a remarkable success story. This broad silver mineralization at surface, if you look at, it's like a shape like a mushroom, and then the stem of the mushroom with this extensive gold zone at depth.
There was a slide that stood out to me as I studied the deck. It was the side-by-side of the Filo de Sol project next to your Carangas project. Could you walk us through this slide and any comparables between the two deposits?
Yeah, it's kind of a fun slide. If you look at Filo, I mean, they've been hugely successful. That deposit was known for a long time as being a very broad, near-surface silver horizon, silver dominant horizon, and then they drilled those deep holes a couple years ago now and hit that broad copper gold zone at depth, and that really changed the game for them. And the minerals that fall out of solution, the silver drops out at a much lower temperature, so more distal to the heat source, versus the copper and gold that drop out of solution at much higher temperatures. And so that's very much the zonation that they've discovered at their Filo project, and it's identical to what we've seen at Carangas. Again, going back to the discovery story, it was this shallow silver mineralization that we first discovered at Carangas and have been continuing to step out on. But it wasn't until hole 31 that we drilled the deeper hole into the gold zone that really changed the game for us at Carangas.
Now, as previously mentioned, the company has been focused between the east and west domes of the property. Could you touch on any upside potential that remains outside of this target region for the company?
Yeah, so our geologists, they've had this idea that Carangas is one of several in a much larger district, and they've recently produced some very compelling evidence that that might be the case. Earlier this year, we had a team of geophysicists roam the property. We've got a large 41 square kilometer land holding at Carangas. And the secret, going back to the Central Valley, our main discovery that was undercover, that occurs roughly at about 250 meters depth and below. And so not being obvious to the naked eye walking the surface. So we ran a similar geophysical survey. This one was done 400 meters below the Earth's surface, and it highlighted 5 really interesting anomalies. And when you look at geophysical surveys, they're notorious for generating false positive signals that when you go to drill them, they turn out to be uninteresting geological phenomena that aren't mineralized. But in our case, one of the anomalies that came out of the geophysical study happens to perfectly correlate with our known discovery of mineralized gold and silver. So that's the one in the bottom left of the screen. So there's several others. We know that at least in that anomaly, this geophysical survey has been well calibrated, and hopefully in the second half of this year, we'll get back into the field. We've got geologists that are currently mapping on the ground, trying to better help us when we eventually go back in to drill them. But we're really excited to test this idea that Carangas is one of several in a much larger district.
Now, Andrew, to cap things off, are there any final thoughts you'd like to leave our audience on New Pacific Metals?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talk a lot about assets, and for good reason in our industry. At the end of the day, you need to have the size and the scale in order to mobilize the necessary capital to build a mine. But behind the scenes, there's been a huge ongoing effort to build the right team. Few exploration companies are lucky enough to make a discovery of that size and scale that allows them to transition from being an explorer into a developer. Certainly, we have a very strong and will always be that exploration DNA in the company, but we've been since bolting on the capabilities to transition from being an explorer into a developer. We've brought on some fantastically talented, experienced mining individuals to our team. And that's something that we've been building in the background as we transition. We've got critical mass now at our Silver Sand project and now our Carangas project. And so we're building the necessary team in the country that can transition from explorer into developer and perhaps one day even be a producer if that's the strategic path that we go down. But I think the team has been a really big focus, and we don't have a lot of slides and we don't spend a lot of time talking about it, but hugely important. And that's something that we've been putting a lot of effort into over the last 6 months.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again, Andrew. And I'm sure our viewers will be keeping a close eye on the significant catalyst we touched on today. And we look forward to the rest of 2023.
All right. Thank you very much, Megan. It's been a pleasure.